Hi. So this is my first video of covering the notes that will help you on the test tomorrow, which is chapters 33 through 35. And so I'm going to kind of summarize my 33 part 1 notes. And yeah, and it's going to be probably really choppy because my notes are kind of choppy, but I'm going to go through them and hopefully it will help you, and I think it's going to help me a lot too. So we are starting out the election, the next election. I don't know what year it is, but it's starting at the next election. And Hoover is renominated for the Republican platform because he was president last. And the Republican platform in this election is to stop the Depression and stop Prohibition. And Roosevelt is on he's for the Democrat nomination. And FDR was an interesting politician because he was paralyzed because of polio he had when he was little. And also his wife, Eleanor, was a great asset, and she was pretty much as much of a political figure as FDR was. And she was the most active First Lady in history. She worked a lot for the impoverished and the oppressed, and she really pushed the New Deal. So she's really important. And FDR was also, he's a really great orator. And the Democratic platform, which Roosevelt was running for and would win, is that they promised for a balance of the budget and sweeping social and economic reforms, which, going into our next topic, is the New Deal. That's what FDR wanted. And this is kind of a side note, but FDR's speeches were written by his brain trust. And Hoover reaffirmed his faith in American enterprise and individual initiative. It's kind of a random note, but it's there. And the election in 1932 was the beginning of a really distinct shift for African Americans because they were leaving the Republican Party and going to the Democratic Party because the Republicans had really gone through hard times and through the last years or so, and that really messed them up. And while Hoover was still kind of in office and he was a lame duck, he tried to meet with Roosevelt to go over laws and various things, but what Hoover was really trying to do was bind FDR to an anti-inflammatory policy that would have basically made the New Deal impossible. And so that's why Roosevelt was really cautious about it. And obviously something needed to be done, needed to be reformed, because 1 out of 4 workers were living on the streets. And now FDR had his 3 R's: relief, recovery, and reform. And when FDR got into office, the first thing he did was he declared a national banking holiday. Then came the 100 days, which is the first 100 days in Congress, created all kinds of remedial legislation. And Congress gave the president extraordinary blank check powers. And FDR really liked to do things by intuition. He made a lot of his decisions that way. Some of the things that they accomplished were unemployment insurance, old age insurance, minimum wage regulations, conservation, development of natural resources, and restrictions on child labor. He also created the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is where they worked with electricity and stuff in the Tennessee Valley River area. And also there was the Emergency Banking Relief Act, which gave the president the power to regulate banking transactions and foreign exchange, and it was also able to open resolvent banks. So insolvent banks were closed, and solvent banks were reopened. Also, FDR did his fireside chats, which were supposed to appeal to the people. That was the point of that. There was the Glass-Steagall Banking Reform Act, which provided for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which insured individual deposits up to $5,000. So that helped people guarantee their individual insurance. Also, FDR didn't want the gold standard. He ordered all of the private holdings of gold to be given to the Treasury in exchange for paper money. And FDR wanted inflation to help stop the Great Depression and all that stuff. FDR wanted to use the federal money to aid all the unemployed. They created the Civilian Conservation Corps, or the CCC, which gave single men jobs. And it was the most popular of all the New Deal alphabetical agencies. And yeah, it provided employment in fresh air government camps. One kind of downside is that the people working there had to send their money home. They didn't get to keep it. So that's no fun. The Federal Emergency Relief Act gave immediate relief rather than long-term relief. So it was something that only helped immediately. And that created the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, which was led by Harry Hopkins. The Agricultural Adjustments Act, that made available many millions of dollars to help farmers meet their mortgages. So, you know, the farmers were losing their mortgages because their prices were going down, because they had overproduced, so their prices were going down. And so, because their prices were going down, they couldn't pay for their stuff because people weren't buying their stuff and the prices were low, so they weren't making up money, so the farms were being closed, so they needed help. The Homeowners Loan Corporation refinanced mortgages on non-farm homes, so that helps homeowners. The Civil Works Administration, the CWA, provided temporary jobs during the winter. There were some Roosevelt haters, though, that got in the way. Charles Coughlin was a Catholic priest. He was anti-New Deal. He would talk on the radio, be all hateful and stuff. Francis E. Townsend, he promised everyone over 60 $200 a month. Hoy Long, he created the Share Our Wealth program. He was shot. The Works Progress Administration they employed, this is kind of random, but they employed people on useful projects, and out of that administration came much art. Women began to have more of a political role. Frances Perkins, which was the Secretary of Labor, the Secretary of Labor, she was the first female cabinet member. And Mary McLeod Bethune was the highest-ranking African-American in FDR's administration, and she was the director of the Office of Minority Affairs. Women were also being known to work in the social sciences and anthropology. Ruth Benedict was part of the cultural and personality movement, and she wrote Patterns of Culture. Margaret Mead, she popularized cultural anthropology. Perlis Buck was a novelist who wrote The Good Earth, and she won the Nobel Peace Prize. The National Recovery Administration was created to assist industry, labor, and the unemployed. It was the NRA, and they had to develop codes of fair competition under which hours of labor would be reduced so that employment could be spread over more people. So yeah, they had the NRA codes. The workers got the right to organize and bargain collectively through representation of their own choosing. But it collapsed when the court made the Schechter decision, so the NRA didn't really work out. They created the Public Works Administration next, which Harold Ikes led, and that was aimed at long-range recovery. Also, the Grand Coulee Dam made possible immigration. No, I think that says irrigation. See, it's either irrigation or immigration. I think it's irrigation. And allowed for more electrical power. Also, the 21st Amendment repealed prohibition. And that is what I have for 33 part 1. So I hope you liked it. If you don't, tell me.